photo booth.
Do you know what I'm in? I'm in my self-tape corner.
Fantastic.
Yes,
So you take lots of.
it's a tricky one.
But you paint.
No, I'm an actress.
To get home, just in case I
Brilliant.
And
But
this
yeah,
is where I
luckily we have a
I
caravan.
painted the house.
Well, listen, let's talk a little bit because when I photographed people, one of the things was well, we're just around the corner from Christmas or from the festive period, and indeed another new year. Well, what a year this has been. Isolated, still in my attic here. But tonight is very special because it symbolizes a little bit of the connection between us all, really the time to pause participants. One of whom was someone that I met many years ago, back in London, Edita Brichter. And Edita has been a real dear friend. She kind of left our shores for Hollywood many years ago. And she spent a long time hosting me and putting me up, or potentially even putting up with me when I used to visit LA. And she has been such a connector. She has introduced me to so many people, including tonight's director, John Perkis. And John introduced me to Nicola Murphy, who was the last director of the Time to Act performance that we had with the key players. And also, John is married to Cecile, who's with us tonight. And through John, I met Eureka. And also, I've recently just met Lydia and Terry. So I'm really excited that tonight we've got a Time to Act performance, which is going to really symbolize the gathering together of families at this festive period, but also around a time when potentially we don't have that opportunity. So this is wonderful. I'm looking forward to this immensely.
On Christmas Eve last year, with my nephew Tam, who's 7 years old, we lit up the beautifully decorated tree in his Brooklyn apartment. We propped up some mattress and cozy blankets on the floor and candles and chocolate, and we all got cozy watching the latest Christmas movie. And what a treat that was. How exciting that was. We were, for the first time in a long time, reunited as a family. They had moved recently from France, and we were living literally in the same street. And that was our first Christmas I had spent in a long time as a family. And I think that night, watching this movie, which was all about Santa Claus and believing that he existed, Tam restored my faith in Christmas, and I believed in Père Noël. For the last 10 years, I would say, I had spent Christmas away from home, away from France, away from my family. And so did Johnny, for a simple reason, is that flights were unaffordable and we just couldn't go. So this year it's the same, COVID or not, we can't go. And so we got used to spend Christmas just in a little bubble, our little bubble with our 2 cats and just the 2 of us watching Christmas movies too, watching all the movies we hadn't watched in the whole year. And there was always something missing. There was a sense of nostalgia, like some kind of sadness. Always something missing. Always someone missing. As a child, I loved Christmas. I used to go to mass with my mother, who was playing organ. She was that was her profession. She was an organist, and it was magical. It was so full of magic and innocence. And I was even the acolyte in the mass, and we would do it in a traditional and religious way with all the crèche and the santon, the traditional Provençal santon, and yeah, there was lots of love and light in these moments. Yeah, this disappeared actually on my 10th birthday. On my 10th birthday, my auntie Chris, who actually was the one who was making us make beautiful and funny comedy sketches for my family and give me the desire to be an actor, she wasn't there anymore. She suddenly disappeared, and I stopped believing. I stopped believing in God. I stopped believing in Santa Claus. I just, there was no more mass, no more acolyte for me. She was my second mom, the twin sister to my mom. So yeah, that was a brutal change in my life. But now today I'm an auntie too, and to all my nephews and nieces, and I can in turn pass the magic on of Christmas. I have this role that this inspiration that I can give to them, just like my auntie did with me. She gave me the will to be, the desire to be free and live fully. And so in turn, I can inspire them to be themselves, trust themselves, believe in themselves, and dream big. So when Tams asked me, Chacha, est-ce que tu crois encore au Père Noël? I replied to him, of course I believe in Santa Claus, because I believe in love and magic.
Well, do I believe in Santa Claus and the whole thing? Well, I'm not a Christian. I'm not a Catholic. I'm a Buddhist, actually. But I do believe that Christmas is a special day. Actually, Christmas was a big deal when I was a kid in my household. My mother is Catholic. So, Christmas was the time to get dressed, to party, and to eat our bellies to exhaustion, But I also think that Christmas was the only time of the year that we were coming together and forgive each other and show unconditional love and forgive the rest of the world. I remember clearly, there was always our two cultures represented on the table. So we had foie gras, oysters, smoked salmon to represent France. And then we had rice and beans, pork, racine to represent Guadeloupe. and champagne. There was always a lot of champagne. There was no Christmas without champagne. The big cheer at midnight, Dry Noel, and the kids running to the Christmas tree and unwrap their present in less than 2 minutes. And then everybody hug and thank each other. And then the real party starts, right? So everybody's standing and dancing. Yes, that was my Christmas as a kid. Good times. But then through the years, I started to spend Christmas with my chosen family, right? Because of where I lived. I lived in New York. And I couldn't afford the ticket to go on the other side of the Atlantic at that time of the year because it was too expensive. And I love spending Christmas with my chosen family, my fellow immigrants and expats. But I have to say that there was always that feeling inside of my heart that, you know, I miss my blood family. So I always had that thing that I wanted the holidays to be over. I was like, okay, let's get on with it, you know, because I didn't want to stay in those feelings of missing my blood family. And last year, it was probably the saddest Christmas I ever had because one of my oldest brother died on that day, on Christmas Day. And yes, of course, there was no beautiful table, no party, and definitely no champagne, right? We were all mourning. But I think his death really reminded me of the fragility and the uncertainty of life. And really the deeper wish to live my life with no regrets. So this year, I decided that there would be no sadness, no, I feel sorry for myself. So I booked a flight to spend Christmas with some members of my chosen family, Cecile and John, in Los Angeles. And I can assure you that I'm gonna get dressed and that there's gonna be a beautiful table and that there will be champagne. Champagne to cheer for life.
Life is a beautiful thing, and so is love. Holidays are about love and family. I remember back in the 60s, one of my favorite childhood memories was when we moved from San Antonio to LA, and we didn't have much. And we lived in a little teeny tiny one-room apartment. It had a bathroom and a kitchen, but that was really it. And it was getting close to the holidays. And I was wondering, well, what kind of holiday is this going to be? I was a tiny girl. And somehow or other, I was so elated over the fact that my father and mother were able to find this little tiny silver Christmas tree with tinsel. And somehow they even managed to get us one gift each. It was incredible. I just couldn't get over the fact that we had hardly anything and we were so happy. Just a little tiny family, the four of us. And now we're a large family. There's a lot of us. So one of the things that we like to do is everyone gets together at my mom and dad's, especially for the holidays. There's a ton of people. The whole crew goes there. And I think everything is like, well, everyone thinks they're a comedian because There's so much laughter that goes on there. You know, the kind that makes your face ache from laughing so hard for so many hours. Yeah, they're funny. One of the greatest traditions of our family, because of our heritage, is that we make tamales. It's mom and dad's tradition that they brought over from San Antonio. So all the family does it there. And every single ingredient is like huge varieties. Everything is homemade. So it takes a lot of work and a lot of people and a lot of food that we each get to take home, even per household. I think it's like a dozen or so each one. So it's pretty incredible. This Thanksgiving, my wife and I stayed home for that holiday. We thought there was just way too many people at my mom and dad's house, all under one roof. It's just too many people. Everyone shows up there. Everyone likes being at mom and dad's. It's the closeness of the family being together. I doubt that we will go to mom and dad's for Thanksgiving. I mean, for Christmas. So many holidays this year, and that we've not been able to spend with them, including at the beginning of the year when everything first started with the pandemic. There's just too many people. Besides, there's always some kind of drama or conflict or something there. You know, not the kind that's like as crazy as like a Real Housewives episode, nothing crazy like that. But that's without alcohol. So who really needs that? We're going to keep it quiet. Before the pandemic, we would travel to New York every couple of months. My wife has a firm that's headquartered there. So it was great being able to go, especially for the holidays. You know, the best part about being in New York was not really about how festive New York is. It was about the fact that my son lives there with his partner and their daughter. So it's like 3 of them and 2 of us, and we call each other the little family. It's a great place to be. But the best part about being there in New York is seeing him for that first moment and seeing his smiling face and getting to hug him after not seeing him for so long. 2 months seemed like such a long time, and now it seems like forever. We invited the little family to LA for Christmas. But because the pandemic is worse, we all agreed that it's probably best for them to stay home and stay safe. I haven't seen my son since December, except maybe like Zoom or FaceTime, but that's not the same. I think one of the things that I miss the most is greeting people with hugs and kisses. I'm affectionate. We haven't even thought about New Year's Eve yet, but I can already picture it. It'll be my wife and I celebrating in the living room, watching the ball drop on TV, having some hors d'oeuvres and champagne, and probably FaceTiming our little family at midnight New York time. It'll be different. I'm happy there's progress on the vaccine. Really, it's a good thing. But because this holiday is so different, it doesn't mean that we stop taking care of ourselves or each other and our family members. This holiday season is going to be about keeping each other safe. And I think the best thing is to look forward to a healthy, happy, and prosperous new year. So this year, we're celebrating lots of love and lots more hugs and kisses to come. Yeah.
I wish I could hug my mother, but she's thousands of miles away. And this time of year always makes me think of her because she loved Christmas. She instilled all the Christmas love that she had into me. And it's really one of my most favorite times of year. And I was just reminiscing in my mind about what she did to do that, which was she would bake all night, and she would bake traditional Czech Christmas cookies. She would pleat the Vánočka, which is a Czech Christmas bread, but it's more like cake. And it takes so much work because you have to prove the dough, you have to let it rise, then you have to work it again. And she'd get quite an arm workout because she was always kneading this fragrant dough that was full of vanilla smells and cloves. There were nuts roasting for the cookies. I mean, I found a photo of some of the fare that she did, which was just like a painting. But then she's a painter. She's a very, very accomplished artist. I even found a Christmas painting she did. I hope it's not reflecting too much, where she depicted this time of year. And so I have that on my wall. But anyway, those piles of warm cookies and Vánočka bread were always waiting for us in the morning. We would all be slumbering in our cozy beds and come down, and there it was, this incredible array of goodies to accompany a nice steaming cup of coffee, and she would be taking a nap. So with all those memories unfolding, I thought, I'm going to call her. I want to reminisce about those times. I want to have a chat about that Vánočka, because I don't know if I'm going to be in the mood to make it. So I dialed a number, and she's, by the way, 89, and she lives in Great Bookham in England. And I asked for the second floor, and that's the Alzheimer's unit. Hello, Mama. Ahoj, Edo, she said. I said, how are you? She said, yeah, you know. Then there was a long pause, and the conversation was really about what she saw around her, who was milling about, some old ladies and a gent. And I started off about her epic Vánočka. And I said, do you remember, you know, how I used to do that? And no recollection. Almost ignored what I was saying. She would just describe to me what was going on. And then she was very worried about where her room was. And I so wanted to tell her, you know, I make the Vánočka and the cukroví, and my little girl, who's now a big girl living in San Francisco, she makes the Czech fare. But no, there was just, where's my room? And a few distressing calls in the background, and shouts and aggressive calls, and that's what they call sundowning with Alzheimer's patients. Around sundown, which was her time when I called, they all get distressed and anxious and wander around. And I said to her, why don't you look for a carer, Mama? Find a carer, put them on the phone, I'll explain where your room is, and you can go and tuck yourself in your room, quiet and cozy. And she said, I don't see a carer. I said, Mama, somebody with a uniform, somebody younger, you know, have a look, it must be somebody. She said, wait. She put the phone down, and somebody picked up the phone, and very nice, well-to-do English voice answered, but the conversation was very surreal. And I realized it was one of the inmates, as my brother would call them. So eventually my mother came back on the phone and described the lady as, oh, she was holding a doll and kissing it. And I realized that that's probably as far as I was going to get. So with that said, you know, we can't control the world, but we can control what we do in it And because of COVID, I won't be able to see her. Well, they've actually had 2 outbreaks of COVID in the care home. Miraculously, they've been able to control it and each time eradicate it. I think a few people passed away, but my mother somehow, at 89, is just dodging the bullet. But I don't know. Every day I wonder, will I still get to see her? Will I get to hold her, the child that she has become for me? Will I be able to at least tell her those things on the phone even? And if something should happen, will I be able to even bury her? Because I can't travel. Anyway, we can control what we do, so maybe I will make the Varnochka. This is my mother on the piano. This is my mother's composition. Oh, so beautiful. She just sent it to me a few days ago for the holidays. She's always making so much beautiful music for the family. She's always written lullabies for me since I was little. She said that this one is something she wrote thinking of a memory that she had of me when I was younger. This was when she was picking me up from a Nutcracker performance. And this was a big performance for me because I was the soldier doll, and it was my first performance in pointe shoes, and it was just a very big deal for me. And she says that she still remembers how proud of me she was in that moment. So she says when she was picking me up from the theater, the parking lot of the theater, she noticed the icy that had formed all over the beautiful pine trees. And she says that she'll never forget this dazzling sight. She said it was so beautiful. Rhyme on trees is what she calls this melody. My mother's always been a very sensitive and delicate person, just sensitive to the whole world around her, sensitive to how the water tastes or how the flowers would smell. And she remembers everything. But also sensitive in a way where she would kind of complain about how the wine didn't sit well with her stomach when all of us would get together for the holidays, or just how other people, like the neighbors, would be judging her potluck dish. And she would just always be in her head a lot and anxious about everything. And even now I know it still eats away at her very much. And it worries me.
but I know that's also the reason why she's able to come up with such a beautiful melody like this. You know, my mom's a very selfless person. I was always the center of her universe. And she would always say to me, 私はいいからユリやりなさい. Don't worry about me. Just forget about me. You go on and do it, Eureka. I don't have to do it. And she was always allowing me to do whatever she thought was best for me, and she was giving me everything that she could, everything that was possible for her. And she was always sacrificing herself for me. And in large part, I know she was doing that because she just couldn't come up with the confidence and strength to face her own fears. And she just didn't have the guts to go after something so passionately and so strongly the way she always wished. So she wished all that strength that she had desired onto me. I wish I could see my mom for the holidays. Kanpai! Yoi o toshi o.
Veselé Vánoce. A na zdraví.
Happy holidays.
Bonne fête.
Wow. How utterly beautiful and wonderful that was. And so based on, and keep that music going, Eureka. That's beautiful. I love it. Let's have it as a background.
It's lovely.
I just felt that that
Can't
was
see.
so special and so meaningful. And it interested me more than anything because we all see Christmas as days and moments and opportunities to get together with people. But we always have that ambition to potentially try to get to know even members of our family a little bit more and to try and strengthen those relationships that we potentially had left behind. I mean, the nature of families, we leave homes, we go off, we have our own families, and then we gather together. And when we gather together, we tend to always want to give as much as receive. And sometimes that can be disappointing. That can also be moments, rather like Edita was saying with her mum, where she was so keen to have her mum remember, but she knew deep down that her mother wouldn't. So it was like, Edita, you were trying to do it a little bit for yourself, weren't you, as much?
Yeah, absolutely.
It was a memory for you, but you wanted your mother, because your giving to her was to try and give her past back.
Yeah.
In a very difficult situation. And what was very beautiful about all of your stories was that they're true stories. And you're all actresses, but that was just storytelling at its very best. And I was so entranced and intrigued and just waiting. And I bet you all were for each other. I mean, it was
The
really
stories
beautiful.
were amazing.
Yeah. What did you feel, Cecile? I mean, poor you having to start it, but you know what? You had such a sensitivity, and I loved that moment where you were still there with us before, as Lydia had started, and you slowly wiped away a tear,
Mm.
as if somehow we wouldn't notice. But you know what? It was in your voice. You were there, you were back there with your auntie at the age of 10, and it was so magical. Now, what I'm going to do now, because I'm going to introduce John. Now, John has been hugely important to all of this because he got everybody together, and John has really sort of grabbed hold of this and made sure that it's worked beautifully. So, John, are you there?
I'm here. I'm here. Wow.
I should explain, hang on, because poor old John, he's suddenly come on right at this minute. Now, John is married to Cecile. John is actually in the back room of, he's been banished to the back.
Oh, come and join me.
And, but John, just your reflections, because, you know, I shed a tear or two simply because your stories were reminding me of my stories. And what was very important about that was that actually we've each got our own very similar story based on emotion. And what about you, John? Was it bringing you back to your Christmases as well?
Oh my goodness, yes. It was very fascinating for me that, with the exception, well, from just for me, my memory of Christmas is up until 9 were very happy. And after that, things within the family unit fell apart and it became a very different experience. So it was very beautiful to hear these stories of what Christmas was and what Christmas means to each individual now and what the Christmases they're looking forward to. I mean, Adita is very moving to me because I know Adita, sending myself off now. I know Adita and
Yeah.
and so that was very hard.
And you
And
know
then-
my mother very well.
I know your mother very well, and wow. So this is the effect it's having. And then Eureka's extraordinary performance and her heartfelt, everybody, Cecile, Lydia, Terry, Adita, and Eureka, it came from the heart. I mean, I'm not the director of this. You're very sweet, Alistair, to say so. I'm the stage manager and the assistant director. And I really didn't have to do anything because all of these actresses are so talented. And they had a very difficult task of them, which was to create a monologue, but when they perform it, for it to be real. Now that is not easy, and people who don't know don't appreciate how difficult that is to be in the moment with the text, with all those emotions, and to make it real. And they did it so beautifully in very short notice, because it's very interesting as well as capacity as director. I never got to see what each actress had created until the performance, because we agreed that we wanted to hold that until now. And so we just topped and tailed yesterday with you and with Max. That was it. That's all. It had a very brief meet and greet previously, and then that was their moment to actually see each other again, but still not run through this. And so that made this incredibly powerful for me to hear that, to hear Cecile and see Cecile going through that, and I can't be near her, and likewise with all of you, because Christmas very clearly, as I think this is true wherever we are, whatever we celebrate, whatever religion we believe in, Christmas is a very important family event. It is that moment when we do get to meet and see people we've not seen for a very long time. And sometimes we can't even do that as now, but previously you're on the phone. And it's a moment of joy, and it's a moment of sadness, and it's a moment of reflection. So this, for me, was wonderful. I won't call it a performance because we're not. It wasn't. this wonderful evocation of Christmas that you all rendered so beautifully, and the effort you made, all of you, to create this.
I'm going to stop you there, John,
You
just
make me
for a
cry.
second. Eureka, just turn the music off now, simply
Okay.
because if the sound is slightly difficult as it is with John, it might interfere with that. Do you mind? Thank you.
Yes, hold on
Um,
one moment.
Thank you.
Yeah, can I
So,
snort?
John, can I just can
It's
I
apple
just,
juice. By the way, I'm not boozing at 1 o'clock, but
Tea.
well, you
Green
should be,
tea.
darling. You should be. It's never
Green
stopped.
tea.
apple juice. I'm getting some more.
What was really lovely about what you said, John, was the idea, and as you know, when the key players did their stories, I was very keen that the word performance wasn't used, because you are actresses, but actually that was much more about storytelling from the heart.
Very
And
This was definitely,
How-
definitely not, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say, Terry, I mean, how did you feel about that? Did you feel that you were just telling us your story? And is there something in that that is part of acting, or did it feel like it was just you telling us a story?
No, there was zero acting. It was me burying my soul, burying how I felt. And one of the things that I wanted to say, but I couldn't say it because it was so close to what I'm so worried about right now, is the reason why we didn't want to be with my big family in LA was because they walk around like in a bubble where they don't wear their masks around each other all the time. And it's very scary to me. It's very frightening. It took a lot for me to keep moving forward in the dialogue of what I was sharing, because I was going to say that, but it wouldn't come out. I couldn't say it because I knew if I started to go down that path, I would just break down. So I just chose to just let it go, not talk about it, and just talk about the fact that we're just not going to be together.
And I think
That's how difficult that was.
Yeah, that's quite possibly the most difficult thing of all, is not just about decisions being made where you can't be with someone. There are occasions where people have been allowed to be with each other, but a consideration has to be taken into whether it's safe to do so. I mean, I was struck by John simply even saying that he's actually in the same space as Cecile right now, but he couldn't be with her at a moment where Cecile perhaps needed a hug. And in a way, you are in the same space and you could just walk out. In fact, I'm going to encourage you in a minute to do exactly that, John. You can walk out and give Cecile a hug.
Walk out.
You can come out of the closet now, I promise.
Well, I've been doing that a lot recently. Hold on.
Here she comes. Here he comes. So I do think that whole idea of distance, and how lovely that that Lydia is going to spend Christmas there, go to LA. And
Yeah, what a surprise that was.
Yeah.
I want to meet you. I want to
say
meet
she's
you.
flying to, and I actually know the
I think this extended family is going to meet. Eureka and I are probably the only ones who won't. We'll still be Zooming. Don't worry, Eureka. I'll Zoom you.
Okay.
So bring it.
I won't feel left out then.
Yeah. So
My
listen,
sister's
I
actually in LA though.
I wanted to ask Edita and Eureka to chat to each other, because in a way, there were very similar stories there. Obviously, Edita's mum is a lot older, but ultimately there was still that idea of giving on to daughters and not thinking about themselves and giving everything to you to carry on your life. But you've both taken that forward, always graciously understanding what they gave you both. So I'd like you to almost like introduce yourselves to each other with those storylines, because it's very, very pertinent. Edita,
Yeah,
maybe
so-
you'll start, because you were very brave, I have to say, to tell us that story.
Well, when I actually did call my mother just to sort of inspire myself, and the call itself became the story. So what I wanted to do was I wanted to paint the picture of, you know, who my mother was, and then what I'm dealing with obviously now, you know. And I could have gone on about my mother, because actually it's true, Eureka. When you started talking about your mother, I almost felt like you were talking about my mother, because my mother, being an artist as well, in a different field, but a creator, was very sensitive. You know, she would be, and she would incorporate her curiosity in life, you know, to be, you know, slightly, as we would say in England, bonkers. You know, she would do fun, crazy things. She wasn't a sort of very formal woman, but she was a very sort of classy lady. But with, you know, it's funny. There was a Czech film director recently who passed away, Ivan Pasa, and he and Milos Forman, these directors, because of the Czech community, they knew my parents. And my mother was nicknamed as the package, because she had everything. She had good looks, she had talent as an artist, and she was fun, and she created fantastic meals, and people around her were always like, wow, this woman is, you know, so effervescent. And indeed she has become like my child. And you said something where your mother, you know, noticed the flowers, and, you know, she
The
would
water,
notice
how the water
water
tastes.
taste. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
My mother always noticed nature, sort of plants, trees. And I remember one time she said, I was having, I think it was after I moved maybe to California, and I was feeling very lonely, and had some kind of downward turn. She said to me, just go outside and watch the clouds, or look at a tree, and just stay with it. She literally had a sort of meditative life force in her. And the things that she taught me, you know, to look to when I was, you know, in hardships, really has stayed with me. And I always turn to, like, now in COVID, I'm just blessed that I can walk outside here and look at trees and look at nature and see the birds, and, you know, all of it around, and the sky. It stayed with me. And I so thought, wow, that's like such a similarity. Your mother, my mother, they couldn't be culturally further apart as well, but, you know, interesting. I mean,
I also felt the connection, because right as you were talking about your mother, you know, you were talking about your mother having Alzheimer's, and my mother's mother, so my grandmother, had Alzheimer's as well. And that is the reason why, you know, for many years my mother was taking care of my grandmother, going to the hospital every day, driving 2 hours there, driving 2 hours back. And back then, you know, we didn't have the facilities in Japan that we do now. So it was a lot of tough times for my mother. And I know, you know, just every day taking there, but my grandmother not knowing who my mother was. And that was just very painful to see every day. You know, I was only in elementary school then, but being by my mother's side, and her trying to take care of her mother, but also taking care of me and my sister. And, you know, there was no room for herself. And I know she was doing that for just very selflessly. And
well, for the love of her loved ones. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And I always, how I expressed, you know, that she kind of left nothing for herself. And, you know, I know she's still trying to find that within herself through music, and through our phone conversations on video chat and stuff. And, you know, she's always been very, very sensitive, like I expressed. And it's just, I think that when you talk about your mother becoming your child now, or that sentence, that what you expressed there was very telling, and just it hit me. So your performance, you know, I don't know if we would call it a performance, but your story definitely resonated with mine, and that I was able to use that energy, that feeling, into what I was feeling as well. So
I felt that amongst you all, actually. I felt that you went from story to story and you gathered so much emotion from the previous story. And what was lovely with the connection, and of course, you know, John and I, and none of you knew what you were going to say, which made it even more perfect and even more beautiful, that it just seemed to work from person to person. It was like passing the baton of emotion onto the next person. And actually, interestingly, Terry and Lydia, you both talked about these little families and these extended families, people who weren't actually biologically your family, but have become your families. And I thought that connected very well too.
That's the best part of my son's relationship is fairly new. It's about 2 years, and his new girlfriend partner brought a daughter with her into the relationship, and they are the most incredible group of 3 little people, you know, not little in size, but this little tiny family of 3. And the first thing he said to me when he first started asking questions about being a parent was, he said, "Was I really that bad?" Which made me think, wow, you know, he's come to the realization that parenting is very difficult, and he's so careful about not wanting to make mistakes. And it makes me, my mama soul is like, as I said, it's like it's bursting, that this guy who is, you know, he was in a very long relationship prior to that, but this is so different. It's very different, and it also makes me miss him so much more. I ache and I have the love at the same time. It's kind of hard to find the balance of that. And I just keep reminding myself of all the really good things of what he's doing, and how they're you know, flourishing in their relationship. It's incredible. I love it.
And Lydia,
he's so far away.
What do you feel about that? Because in a way, I felt, Lydia, and I say this, and I will definitively call you 4 or 5 times on Christmas Day, if you like, because I felt in a way that you were the loneliest. Are you?
Interesting. Yeah, you're probably right, actually.
Come to my house.
I'm alone here, and yeah, it's just, you're actually right. You know, I didn't think that could like translate in what I said, but you have a good eye or a good ear.
Well, it was more that you know, very often you try and find dance and music and things to bring yourself out of that loneliness, and that's what you created in that.
Right.
You know, we all find our passions. So, you know, I will do so with photography, Eureka with dance. You all will find a different way of doing it. And I was fascinated how in the middle of that conversation, you suddenly became this other person, this bright dancer who was giving us everything. But then you immediately went back to the lonely Lydia.
Interesting.
But very optimistic. I mean, underneath the loneliness, I know what you mean. I felt Lydia was a really sort of, you know, she sees the glass half full, not half empty. She's
absolutely
optimistic and upbeat, even in that situation. Like she can just switch it on, you know. So it's
and you're right, and I think Lydia would be the person who's actually calling me to say, "Are you all right?"
yeah, she would be, yeah.
Even though she may not be all right herself.
Right.
But she's going to hang out with Cecile and Johnny, so.
they're my
Yeah.
children's family. And yeah, I feel like because of my experience last year, and yes, you're right, Alistair was so lonely. I'm going to try not to get emotional here, but yeah, it was so sad that, yeah, I decided that this year is not going to be like that. Even if there is COVID, even if there is social unrest and social injustice, I just want
Yeah.
to fight that. You know, I just don't want to. I don't want to spend the same Christmas as last year. I think, and you know, I know COVID is terrible, but losing my brother on Christmas Day last year was too much.
So sorry.
It was too
So
much.
sorry.
On Christmas Day, it was too much. So, and I know I tried to not speak too much about it, but it really hit me hard. So I really decided that no matter what this year, I don't want to feel that loneliness and that sadness. And yeah, and I feel like somehow I'm less afraid because I lived this terrible moment last year that, you know, I know I'm going to protect myself and I'm going to be very careful as I'm always are. I think I've did so far 7 COVID tests. My nose is like so used to it now. I don't feel anything. And
See, look at how she recovered out of that profound emotion, and now look at her. I mean,
But what's really interesting, Lydia, is that I spoke to a lovely Nigerian lady called Simi in the documentary, and she lost her husband to COVID. Her husband was a doctor who refused not to go in. You know, he was an elderly man. He was very likely right at the start of the pandemic when PPE wasn't available. He was very likely to get it, and he did, and he didn't recover.
Right.
And she was talking to me, and I felt intrusive in asking her about it over a Zoom call without being able to hug her or you know, just finding words, until I told her about my brother, who many years ago committed suicide. And my brother was born on Christmas Eve. And so on Christmas Eve, I always remember my brother. And I was saying to Simi how we never stop grieving. And there's certain songs that we remember that, you know, I've been in corners in floods of tears at different times. And, you know, this happened over 20 years ago. We never stop grieving, but we find our strength in trying to cope with it. Definitely. And I remember Simi just saying to me at the end, you know, that she'd been married for 46 years. And she just said, I suppose I will cope with it. And then the last thing she says was, I miss him. And we will always miss them. That's the reality. And in between, we just have to cope and find our ways. But they're going to be trigger points, and Christmas Day will be your trigger point.
Yeah, definitely. But I will be with my friends, so
yeah, exactly.
Stronger than
I have a request.
Yeah, than being alone. And it's just so bizarre to grieve alone. Like last year I had to feel it, and I felt it, and it lasted for days and days, and it was Christmas and it was New Year's, and it was just so strange because I was here in New York alone. My family is in France. I couldn't travel. I didn't have the financial, means to do that. And it was just very sad, very sad. And, obviously we got hit by COVID, but, deep in my heart, there's no way that I'm going to spend another Christmas alone and sad. There's no way. I refuse that. I refuse it categorically. So for me, it's really a fight against, sadness. And, of course, I don't want we cannot have big parties and stuff, but, we definitely going to be a small number of people. And I know I'm going to get tested before I leave, and I'm going to test it when I come back. That's what I do anyway. But, you know, it's just this fight against, yeah, you know, I just want to leave. I want to leave. Actually, is death just reminding me of that. Live the best way you can and be as happy as you can, even with little things. And I think COVID really taught us that this year, to appreciate the little things, to be happy with, you know, if it's one person you have at home, try to like enjoy this person and enjoy life. Even if we feel we fall apart, there's always things that we can enjoy. And yeah, and that's the way, like for me, that death was really a reminder that I need to live my life with no regret, and I have to fight for my life and for my dreams, you know, because sometimes I get so complacent about my dreams. I'm like, oh, you know, and the death of my brother really woke me up. It woke me up. And COVID woke me up also, you know,
Yeah.
just continuous waking up of what are you doing? Like, you know, you can't hold back. You can't hold back anymore,
No.
you know?
Yeah,
Don't.
you have to choose to live every day, you
Yeah.
know, whatever the external forces are coming at you.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
I have to tell you, Lydia, John actually introduced me to a little film with you. And I have to say, when I watched that film, I immediately fell in love with you as a family. And then after meeting everyone else here and hearing your stories today, I feel the same way about all of you. This is, John, it's your fault. You're making me cry all the time right now, but I feel the same way about all of you. And Lydia, if you come to LA, I would absolutely love to meet you. And anyone else who comes out to LA, Edita, Eureka,
I'm
everybody,
here
everybody.
down the street.
Yeah, Alistair is the king of all of this.
No,
we
I
can
think
do this. We can do this with safe distancing.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
I think what's really beautiful about this, for you know, for someone who was a bit of an old fart with social media and all of this technology, the beautiful thing is that actually, apart from Edita, we've had a hug in the past, Edita, but I haven't been able to even be in the same room with any of any of you, including our producer Max. And it's been, in a way, a beautiful opportunity to meet people that potentially we would never have met before because of, and that's slightly strange, isn't it? We can't be in the same room, but we are experiencing this connection between each other. We are sharing each other with each other. And I think that that's really important. And Cecile, can I ask you, I mean, if it's not too tender, obviously your mother was a twin and you lost your auntie. Did you lose her at 10?
I'm so sorry. We have leaf blowers
Gardeners
in
are
the
in.
back.
Don't worry, we can't hear them.
We can't hear them.
You can't.
No.
Oh,
Okay.
excellent.
No. Can I ask you about your? How long did it take you? Was it literally until last year that you just could not find yourself to celebrate Christmas after that 10th?
No, I think we've celebrated Christmas after that, you know, as a family. But I think it put the seed in me to live my own life, like to. That's what she did for me. Like she really gave. Like she was not a mom. She was not an artist. She was a nurse. But she was always watching me dance. I was very touched by the dance of Eureka because as a child that was my first experience on stage. It was like to dance and to be a ballerina or modern dance, and I would always do shows in front of her. She had more of this. It's difficult for me to talk about this because my mother is still alive, and it is hard to know that this is going to be out in the world, like you sharing, and though she doesn't really understand English. That also my brothers and sister will hear that, and but that I considered her like my mom. You know, so I guess it's always there, like Lydia says, and that's why, you know, we're all connected. You know, we all have lived through loss and absence and grief. We all have that at different stage of our lives. And it's you're right. It's always staying with you. It's never leaving. But it's what also makes you who you are and stronger. And you know that then my own relationship with my mother allowed me to go as far as I could, and to be free and to become an artist. So yeah, it's I guess all the different Christmases I've been very lonely as well. I've lived through that, you know, being on my own. First year I moved to Toronto, I was, you know, I remember that Christmas just being by myself, drinking a whole bottle of wine on my own and playing in the snow outside, you know, but also needing to be on my own, to be facing myself. And then, you know, then I made room to meet someone, and then I met Johnny, and then this family is growing, you know, where we don't have kids, and most likely we won't have kids, and that's all right. But now that I have my sister who joined us last year in New York, it just made it's very special, very unique, and now relocating in LA, and we're also close by, and then like you create your own family, like Lydia said, she's my blood, but she's more than my blood. She feels also like a true friend. You can't say that with all your brothers and sisters. Like sometimes you feel like so far away from your own blood, but this is the family you create. And
also a child makes a big difference at Christmas.
Yeah, that's what I was saying, that time makes it more magical. Like it's just because you see through his eyes. It's like he asked, actually the real question was like, yeah, do you believe in Santa Claus? But I hope that no one tells me that it doesn't exist, basically. Like that would be terrible. So, and he keeps asking the question to you, like the other day we were walking, he just keeps asking that. So yeah, I was very, very touched by everyone, and Lydia, you made me cry right away. And so I'm just so happy you're coming and be with us, and we're gonna nurture you as much as you will for us.
You made me cry.
I'm volunteering for that as well.
Yeah, it was really beautiful.
I want to ask Eureka, are you married? Are you on your own? Are you?
That's interesting, because I actually had a whole part 2 to my monologue, but I had like 3 pages, and I only performed or told half of the story, because I knew we were going to be under 5 minutes, and a whole I was going to talk about how, you know, first in the beginning, you know, I talking about my mother, but I'm actually now in the garage in my mother-in-law's home in North Carolina. I'm usually in New York City, but we just came for the holidays to be with her and my husband. We just recently got married in February. So I was going to thank you. I was going to say, you know, it was that this is my first holidays with a new last name, my first holidays with a new American mother, and she's actually the complete opposite of my mother. She's just very tough and full of life and energy, and just the polar opposite of my mother. And just even though I do miss my mother, I'm just very thankful to be with a new family now. And yes.
So you got married just before the COVID lockdown?
Exactly.
Wow.
Only maybe we got married on Valentine's Day, and so that was exactly maybe a month before the lockdown happened.
Wow.
Yeah.
So this is a real test to your marriage, withstanding the lockdown. It's like
Always
dive
in the
and you
same
can't
room.
leave each other.
Yes, especially when we were in New York. You know, the space is a little tighter in New York City.
I
So we
bet.
were
Yeah.
always in the same space for like the first, you know, couple months actually. But actually we did very well, you know.
Can say they're
No
a very
fights or
cool couple.
anything.
Very cool couple. He's
COVID's
very
been a
fun.
real marriage test, I think, or
Exactly.
relationship test, when people are cooped up together for months and they've got no escape.
But we managed to kind of, you know, not be on top of each other, even if we're in the same room. We're kind of, you know, working on our own things in the same space.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
yeah.
I have to say to Cecile, you were talking about your mom still being here and feeling like you have a special someone who also feels like a mom. As a woman who has a wife, it is okay to have more than one mom. It brings you more love. And every time we meet, my son's friends, they call us the moms. And it's always like, where are the moms? Where are the moms? We did a birthday celebration on Zoom, and everybody was like, oh, finally, the moms are here. You know, so we are adopted by people we don't even know because we're two moms and everybody wants moms.
Great.
So enjoy your moms.
Yeah, and actually, I do feel like a mom to my nephews, even if
Absolutely.
I didn't birth them.
Yeah.
I think I love them as much as
Yep.
as I was their blood mom.
Love is easy. Love is very easy to just let it in your heart. Take it.
Yeah.
Do you think that this year has brought all of these emotions even stronger with us all? Do you think
1000%.
if we had carried on with the way that we had carried on before, I mean, now I feel as if I walk through the front door and it's a world that I don't want to know, the world that I used to know. I want it to be the world that I would like it to be now. That's not necessarily going to happen, other than the fact that I can make choices of who I might be with and who I should have been with more, and all of the things that potentially we failed to do and now can put right. But there's something
I
about
think a lot of
this time of isolation that has given us that opportunity to be able to really think, because I can see it all in you. You're all actually in a way searching for your most loved ones. We've all become children again. We want to find a connection with the people that really matter to us, more so than before, because I think up until now, we've taken it for granted. We've just taken it for granted. And now we're saying, life's too short. These pandemics might come again. We may have to have a completely different lifestyle. Well, let's get used to understanding who is important to us and show them and tell them and be part of it. You know, people who say, my father could never say I love you. Well, I tell my kids I love them all the time now. You know, maybe that's generational. You have to, otherwise you don't engage enough.
Well, there's a thread that I'm on with some other women, including my daughter, who's up in San Francisco, and I haven't seen her either since last December, and won't see her this Christmas. And I miss her. That ache, you know, I miss her terribly as well. But it's interesting because all these women, and there are two of my friends that have daughters as well that know my daughter, and we have this sort of, there's about 5 of us on the thread. You know, like my daughter would only see them maybe twice a year, if at all, maybe once a year. And we have, you know, somebody goes through something, has an experience or an emotion, or, you know, that it'll ping. And there's an instant communication, which there never would have been And I feel like those relationships have become more profound, you know, deeper, because even though you might be sharing something on a whim, it's solidifying a communication that would have been much sparser. So the presence of those people, even though they're in a text maybe, or a picture of something, or somebody's cooked something great and they've taken a shot, and then it's like, oh, I want that recipe, that looks yummy, and, or, you know, whatever the communication is at its most even basic, it is a connect that wasn't there before. So on that level, so it's sort of, it really has done something to bring people together, you know, this pandemic, this time of isolation where, you know, suddenly people are, you know, talking to each other in other ways that they wouldn't have been. So it is actually, within that isolation, it's quite a community.
And I think
We
also
see
that's
that a
very
lot.
possible because each of us were able to make that connection because we had that time to pause and reflect on our own selves first. Because I think everything starts from within. You know, taking that time to reflect on yourself, soul searching, understanding your own priorities and what is most valuable for you. And then I know I took this time for a lot of training for my own self and what I would like to become in the future. A lot of not just go, but also go in the way of brushing up my technique with whatever it is I'm doing with my dancing, acting, everything. And within that, you learn so much about yourself. And I think that each of us have kind of done that in our own ways of looking at ourselves in the mirror and being like, what is the next step? What do we do? And so then we all have this commonality and we can connect each other on a new, different level.
I think that's also generational too, because for you, you're young, so you have so much life ahead of you. And me being older, I look at it differently as acting is always there. I love it, couldn't live without it. But for me, being close to people that I really want to spend time with has become more important. My relationship with my wife has gotten closer. I'm just flabbergasted at some of the things that our neighbors are doing. You know, they're just becoming so incredibly, they were terrific to begin with, but they're also, you know, the variety of like a younger mom with her 3 kids and everything. She is nonstop, always on the go, always doing something, always taking the kids to some kind of different event, school thing that there's not really a class involved, but the kids get together safely. And all us older people are, oh, how are you? And we'll sit like across from each other on the lawn and spend time together and just talk about absolutely nothing and everything. And that just makes me feel incredible. But when something comes along and it's related to work, I look at work now as, what does this really mean to me? Not just, oh, it's a paycheck or it's a job. Is it important enough that I want to spend that time, take it away from the people that I care about and work? Is it going to fulfill how I feel right now? And that's what's different. Before it would be, I'll take whatever I can do. Not anymore. It has to mean something.
I think it's also, we've been so caught up by the material world as well over the decades that have consumed us and that have attached us and that we've become obsessed with. And what we've witnessed is that this tiny bacteria overnight shut all of that down. Decades, lifetimes of work that you've done to build up a restaurant, to build up a business, to build up a career as an actor. Suddenly there is no theatre and there will not be theatre for over a year. There is no production. Suddenly you think, well, how important has that been to me? And how truly important is that still to me, as you're saying? Because what has been opened up in that vacuum is this. It's the friends, it's the family, it's the people that we, for some reason, never had time to connect with, although we did have time to connect with. The other issue is, because of these devices, everyone's texting one another, everyone's emailing one another. No one picks up the phone to talk to one another anymore. They don't.
Oh.
They for whatever reason, they prefer to text on WhatsApp or Viber or something, anything rather than actually speak to the person, which I find curious, and I'm guilty of. And so suddenly we have this opportunity to not only speak to people, but to see them, even though we can't be with them, and make that connection and have that time. And that has happened. I've been connecting with friends that I've not connected with for a very long time, or very rarely do. And suddenly we are checking in on one another and and remembering and making sure that that is an ongoing connection. So yes, absolutely, I feel this, and then it's something that Alistair has generated and created and multiplied, is connecting, not just with the people we know, but with the people as here we don't know.
Well, it's interesting you say that, John, because yesterday I had a conversation with a group of people, and I asked them something which I think is very pertinent to us this evening. And I talked about the proverb which says that we go fast alone, but actually we go far together.
Oh, I love that.
Going far together is what we are beginning to do. I'm 64, I'm just beginning to go far together. You know, I'm learning now that that's what I should be doing. Before I was trying to go fast, but alone. So going far together, I think, is important for us all.
And I don't have to put you up anymore, Atty.
No, you don't have to put up with me.
I don't have to put up with you.
Put up with me.
You use too much toilet paper anyway.
Oh, stop.
I think that's too much information.
And there's a shortage. There's a global shortage.
No, that was back in March, darling. That was
Not
back
anymore.
in
We're
March.
starting up again.
Yeah.
There's another adage to that, Alistair, because if you go fast alone, you're more likely to get lost. But if you go far together, you're more likely to find your way.
Oh,
That's
nice.
true.
I think
Yeah.
there is that as well. Because I've gone fast alone and taken so many wrong turnings,
Yeah.
and resulted in making myself unhappy and other people unhappy. And then as soon as you find that person, you suddenly find you're on the right track. And if you do start to go in the wrong direction,
I will put him back on the right track.
No, you put him in the closet.
I put him in his sandals.
And on that note,
You can't hear me. You can't see me, can't hear me. Perfect.
well, I've got a
This is
little
special.
surprise for you all, because as part of those who are watching from all over the world, they are about to toast you for Christmas as well. All right.
Oh.
So I thank you all very much, and
Thank you.
Thank you.
it's been so wonderful to meet you, and we're going to go far together often.
Yes.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Cheers.
Cheers.
Uh,
Cheers.
My cup of tea.
Cheers, me hearties.
Cheers.
Well, hi, buddy. It's been a long time since we spoke. I'm glad to see you're doing okay. As you can see, Argentina is very much the same, and it's been an interesting year, almost 1 year. COVID has at least taught me several things, patience being the first one. But also, I know it's been a hard year for everybody. You more than anybody should be aware of that. You're talking to thousands of people every day. But in my case, it's been a rough ride. But let me put it to you this way. I started this year with a very good job. And I was single, which made the perfect combination. But along the way, I fell in love. I quit my job. And now I'm expecting to be a father without a job. I have another thing. So anybody else, my dad hears this and it's gonna go through the roof, but I've never been happier. I've never been happier. I've shared this with my friends, neighbors. In a few weeks, I'll share it with my family. And I get a bit emotional now that I think I have, I don't know if it's a daughter or a son. As long as it's healthy, I guess it's the main thing. So I don't know, but I just want to say thank you for letting us be a part of this. And to everybody who's going to hear this, just keep your chin up. Bad news comes along every now and then, but it also goes hand in hand with good news every once in a while. So cheers, everybody. Salud from Argentina.
Yeah, as mentioned, this year has been quite interesting. There was a lot of changes for a lot of people. And I've noticed that at the end, the health and the stability of the life is now getting more and more important. And I am very lucky I spent this year quite good, because I'm still in the situation that I have my job, a stable job. I moved with my girlfriend, so this year was quite good for me. But I know also that I'm in a very lucky situation in comparison with a lot of other people, which are having a very hard year and suffering a lot of losses in their private life. So I think the most important thing is that everybody tries to stay safe and
positive.
See, and positive. Salud.
Salud to you, brother. Thanks for giving me one hell of a year.
Season's greetings from London. At this time, let's cherish every moment.
Yeah. Dalek Slancha.
No, like Sana.
Dalek Sana.
Oh, sorry.
I think you should just say Happy Christmas.
Do I have one more go? Okay.
Hello, my friends. I wish you a really Merry Christmas, peaceful Merry Christmas, and you all take care, okay? I will sit here, drink my coffee, and think of you. Ta vare. Stay healthy. Stay safe.
শুনতে থাকুন, নিজের যত্ন নিন এবং সুস্থ থাকুন. That's the Bangladeshi for stay listening, stay caring, and stay well.
Merry Christmas. Cheers.
Cheers from an English girl in New York City.
Hi, Diola. That was Merry Christmas in Estonian. Wishing you all lots of good health and happiness.
Hello, I am in Romania, Transylvania. Să aveți un Crăciun plin de bucurii și fericire. Noroc! And in translation, have a Christmas with a lot of joys, smiles, and happiness. Merry Christmas.
Dalek Sana Agaslancha.
Well, that was supposed to be for me, the slow.
No. Did you want me to say Happy Christmas and good health?
Yes, Mum's going to do that bit. You're going to go
Happy Christmas, and I'm going to do it. And he hasn't even started the wine.
Hello from Athens, I'm Mary. Σας εύχομαι υγεία και χρόνια πολλά από την Αθήνα, which means I wish you health and happiness from Athens. That's it.
Greetings, I'm Nadira X. I'm in Los Angeles, California, but I'm originally from Jamaica. Just sending everybody good vibes, love, and 2021 might be super. Yeah, I think so.
Hey everybody, my name is Chris Taylor. I'm in San Antonio, Texas, wishing you guys the best. Who knows, 2021 right around the corner. Who knows what's coming up next? Hopefully nothing but good vibes.
Hola, soy una mexicana viviendo en Londres. Me fascina vivir aquí y lo único que quiero es desearles a todos una feliz Navidad, un feliz año nuevo y que todo el mundo esté feliz y lleno de salud. ¡Salud!
Cheers, brothers and sisters. Merry Christmas.
Níl aon tentán mar de hentán féin. As we say in Irish, there's no place like home. I know that a lot of us can't be at home for the holidays, but we're able to connect in a new way with the thanks of technology. And I just wanted to, through this forum, wish you all a really happy holiday season and all the best for 2021. Sláinte.
Votos de Feliz Natal e excelente Ano Novo.
Bonne fête et un 2021 plein de bonheur. Salut.
Saúde.
Hey everyone, this is Teresa from Alabama, and I just want to say, everybody, continue to wear your mask, have hope, stay safe, be well, and try to enjoy your loved ones as you can. Cheers.
Noleg Summer.
August Sláinte. God's happy Christmas and your good health from Ireland. To you all.
And I wanted to say thank you to everybody who's taken part in Time to Pause. It's been a real privilege to be allowed into your lives and into your homes over the past 7 months. It would have been lovely to have had messages from you all, but I suspect that might have taken another 7 months to edit. Poor old Max. So have a wonderful Christmas, and we'll see you in the new year. Appropriately, I'd like to end with Steph, a London nurse, who's got a little message for us.
Do you want me to speak now?
Yeah.
I'm on record now. Okay. So this is to all the families out there who have lost loved ones this year. To everyone who has survived 2020, it hasn't been easy at all. More like a brutal version of Jumanji. This is to strength, courage, and courage to carry on. Love in abundance, as lonely has felt lonely this year. This is to togetherness, unity, faith, hope, and happiness. To memories of loved ones, and most importantly, to health. God bless 2021. May there be love and peace. And may I to all those lives lost in 2021, may peace be with the families.